I want to get into the Allen inquiry a little bit, maybe describe what that inquiry is and what the results were.
Well, the Allen inquiry was set up pretty much as soon as Jason Kenney was elected Premier of Alberta. And the mandate was to investigate the foreign funding that had targeted the Alberta oil and gas industry. And they called it anti-Alberta energy. But it was met with lots of criticism from the environmental groups. It was taken to court. They would try to have it stopped and whatnot. And after the lengthy amount of time going through forensic accounting, they hired Deloitte to do this. They found proof and evidence that confirmed what Vivian Krause had been saying all along, that there was significant amount of foreign funding that came into Canada deliberately, specifically to target the Alberta oil and gas industry, to basically landlock it, which would then, of course, mean it would be shut in the ground, right? Kept in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Where were these foreign funds coming from?
So predominantly from the United States. There were a few European foundations, particularly the Oak Foundation, that has funded quite a few of the environmental groups and certain aspects of what they were trying to do to shut down Canadian. It's now kind of gone more towards Canadian. The Oak Foundation is funding some things to do with the Arctic right now, but it's predominantly American money. And I think one of the sad parts is that the inquiry put together all of this amazing information, confirmed what Vivian Krause had been saying all the time, and no one really is talking about it because the findings are actually quite significant. Well, there were six recommendations at the end, and I believe that the first one is the most important, and that is that there needs to be more transparency and accountability from the Canadian sort of charitable industry on where they get their money from and how exactly is it being spent. Now, I know some of the criticisms of the inquiry findings were that, well, it didn't find any wrongdoing, but that's a super red herring because that wasn't in the mandate. It wasn't meant to look at wrongdoing. And the Harper government had tried to bring some more accountability and transparency to the charitable industry, and a lot of those changes were repealed by the Trudeau government. In fact, the Deloitte report that accompanied the inquiry report talked about these changes to the charitable legislation. And one of the redefinitions or enhanced definitions of what it means to be a charitable industry in Canada, where it allowed for public advocacy. And they consulted the environmental groups on how to change the regulations to be more amenable to the sorts of things perhaps that they wish to bring forward into our society, particularly with respect to energy and the environment.